As we count down the days until the Dogs kick off the 2024 season, we're continuing to preview some of the biggest matchups for Georgia football this season. And today, we're taking a look at that much anticipated Week 7 showdown against the Texas Longhorns down in Austin. And no one better to give us the insight on the Horns other than Dennis De La Pena from Fox 7 in Austin. Dennis, thanks so much for your time today.
Oh, without a doubt. It's never too soon to talk Texas-Georgia football, right?
Yeah, the entire country has been talking about it since Texas was announced into the SEC and the schedules came out. Obviously, huge matchup, right? Two national title favorites. But, I mean, we got to start with the two guys that are going to kind of be leading this pack and leading the Heisman race, as so we think right now. And that's Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers. From your perspective down in Austin, what is kind of the emotion around Quinn Ewers? I know Arch Manning is waiting in the wings, and there's some people that are already saying he's going to be better. But what are kind of the thoughts on Quinn Ewers after last season and going into a season that's so highly anticipated? And then when this matchup actually shows up, going up against a guy in Carson Beck, who was viewed by many as going #1 overall.
It is going to be fantastic, that matchup. As far as Quinn goes, it's funny, you almost can't mention him without Arch Manning. That's the way it's been here. Ever since Arch Manning signed on the dotted line, the fan base was almost ready to crown him. It's like, easy. We have a five-star guy who has amazing arm talent with a great pedigree that has actually been soaking up the system for a couple years. So that's been a fun topic. But I think the fan base now realizes, oh, okay, Quinn Ewers, he's always had the arm talent, but now he's got the demeanor. Things have slowed down for him. He's really poised, and that's the way it is in big-time college football, to shine in year 3. And so, yeah, morale's off the charts for what he can do in this offense with, again, a lot of weapons, as always, under Sark.
What's the view on Carson Beck amongst that fan base? And I guess you cover Texas. You know, you're obviously entrenched in that. But how are people looking at Carson Beck?
Yeah, I think it's similar. There's a guy who already has skins on the walls, been there, done that, and is now a season older, wiser, better. At least that's the idea, right? The nation seems to love him. In fact, the way a lot of people around here view Carson Beck is, oh yeah, he's the guy, along with Dylan Gabriel, ahead of Quinn in this big Heisman race as we get things going. But no, I think it's real similar. You have a guy who has the experience and then has weapons around him who can make it all work. And that's, I think, the way people look at Quinn and Carson. They're kind of similar that way.
And then you look at the two coaches, right? Both Saban disciples. You've got Sark with his high-powered offenses. You've got Kirby with his elite defenses. When you look at these two coaches and their styles, what is your initial reaction on just how this game could go down? You really do have two of the best minds in college football on their respective sides of the ball that are, you know, I'm expecting some great things, but how are you viewing that?
Yeah, and it really is fun because they are from that Saban tree. I think it helped Sark when he played Alabama last year to know Saban left and right because he went in with quite a plan. This one, I think, will be a little different in that, yeah, Kirby's defenses are what they are, and they're so stout. It's going to be a little trickier, though, because there won't be that lead-up time. I don't know if you took a look at the schedule, but this is going to be brutal for Texas. They play the most emotional game of the year every year, Oklahoma, Red River rivalry. That thing is so emotionally charged. And then they play Georgia. They usually don't have a whole lot left in the tank coming away from Dallas after playing OU, win or lose. So it'll be interesting to see not only game plan-wise how much they can get ready for Georgia, but also emotionally as well.
Yeah, I want to get to DKR and the environment and what that can do a little bit later. But let's talk about the running back situation because you and I were joking about this. If we were talking about this a week ago, it would be completely different because you've now lost C.J. Baxter, supposed to be kind of the #1 back there for the season. Then you lost a true freshman to Christian Clark. I believe Texas now has, 3 scholarship running backs entering the first year in SEC play. That's pretty brutal. How are they going to deal with that?
Yeah, you know, the optimist would say, hey, this is why Sark and Tashard Choice recruit and develop backs. We still have 3 guys that most other, not Georgia, but most other college teams would take in a heartbeat. Problem is, the table was set for this thunder and lightning situation. C.J. Baxter being the Thunder, he's a bigger back. I mean, to say losing him, you don't miss a beat, that's just false. He was a 5-star kid out of Florida. He actually was going to be the first Longhorn running back to start a season opener as a true freshman. This was last year since Earl Campbell.
Wow.
You got to be special to be in that sentence, right? And the reason is because not only was he a talented runner, but pass protection. He could handle that load. Again, big, strong, smart young man. You lose him, everybody just doesn't move up and take that role. Jaden Blue, the 2, who now becomes RB1, more of a scat back. He's the guy that you couldn't wait for him to find space because people would be keying on CJ if there was any kind of 2-back set. Now it's going to be a little tougher sledding, especially against the likes of a Georgia or even Michigan before him in week 2.
Very intrigued to see how they deal with that. But let's go to Quinn Ewers' weapons and what's around him. Obviously, you lose a guy like Xavier Worthy. A.D. Mitchell is gone. Jordan Whittington, Jatavion Sanders. But you also did go and add an Isaiah Bond. You got a Matthew Golden, right, a Silas Bolden. And even, I guess, a tight end from Alabama as well, and Amari Neblack. But how are you looking at that offense without some of those regulars from a season ago? And even with Bond, is it going to be enough for Ewers to score at a high rate similar to they did last season?
Yeah, and that was one of the big talking points in the offseason. They reloaded without a doubt. And then they had guys who have been here in Jonte Cook and DeAndre Moore, who, again, now they're grown up a little bit, as they move on. Ryan Wingo comes in as a 5-star freshman who already looks like he's ready for Saturday. So there's all this talent in the portal. Sark knows how to work this portal as far as bringing in guys who not only are going to help them as receivers, but also in the return game. But the million-dollar question is chemistry, right? They got to develop that trust. There's only so much time to get that done. I think they've done everything possible. In fact, at SEC Media Day, Sark was quick to say, he went out, kind of watched what was going on, and he couldn't believe it because of the chemistry already forged between Quinn and some of these transfers, whether it's Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, Silas Bolden. He's been flashing in preseason camp. So there is talent. Now it's just like, how are they going to share the ball? There's only one, and who will find that chemistry with Quinn the quickest to where he can really trust him on game day.
Yeah, that matchup really between the Georgia secondary and those Texas receivers intrigues me because Georgia's replacing so much in the secondary as well. That's going to be a fun one to look at. Now, let's look at the defense because obviously Georgia went out and got Trevor Etienne at running back. They've got other guys coming up that were kind of banged up last season that are supposed to step up this year. Meanwhile, Texas, you lose Tavondre Sweat, you lost Byron Murphy, both critical guys up front. How do you see that challenge? How do you see Texas taking up that challenge in the Georgia run game? We talked about Carson back and what Georgia can do through the air, but that run game I don't think is being talked about enough. Can Texas counter that despite those losses from last season?
So that was one of the biggest reasons for UT's success. I mean, I've got to stay in the obvious. When you have 2 guys like Byron Murphy, mid-first rounder, and Tavondre Sweat, who very well could have done that if he hadn't gotten in trouble off field right before the draft. These guys were run pluggers, run stoppers, game wreckers, right? And so you almost made teams one-dimensional when you played. Again, maybe that's why the secondary got thrown on so much last year here at Texas. But yeah, those are big, big holes or shoes to fill. Texas thinks they have the athletes. Now, when you talk to Sark, he has always been really upfront with this is his most. You send 13 guys to the NFL, 11 through the draft, and yet you can make the statement that this is the most talent and the most depth across the board. That's good program building, right? That's good recruiting and development. But now, who slides into to that interior on that front four? Alfred Collins, he's been kind of a local guy around here that has shown immense talent, but he's still kind of waiting to pop. So a little bit of a question mark there. Vernon Broughton comes in. So again, these are guys that for people here in Austin, they think you have some solutions, but man, those shoes are going to be hard to fill. And then edge-wise, Texas has always been looking for somebody to really pop. Barron Sorrell seems to be that guy this year, but we'll see. So yeah, to be continued on can they stop a run game like Georgia's.
Now, we got to talk about DKR and what that environment is like. I don't know how many Georgia fans have been down there and been in that atmosphere. you know, the SEC is known for its big-time atmospheres and the home crowds making an impact in these games. For those who haven't seen that, can you kind of describe to us what you think that environment will be like? I know they host Mississippi State there, and obviously we talked about the Oklahoma game. That's not going to be there, but they will have played a couple SEC teams. So this is like the first big-time game in that stadium with Texas in the SEC. How do you see that affecting Georgia on the road, and what do you think that environment's going to be like?
Yeah, so the environment has really gone up under new athletic director Chris Del Conte. I can't say new. He's been here a bit. But as he's been here, he's turned it into an event. I mean, there's concerts, there's a lot going on game day. People do get there early. Mac Brown, back in the day, used to always just beg the fans. It became his mantra. Come early, stay late, wear orange, be loud, the whole bit. Almost had to coach him. The UT fans don't need to be coached anymore, especially now heading into the SEC, especially when a Georgia comes to town. That is going to be, the environment's going to be awesome. It is going to be loud. I think SEC fans, not only Georgia fans, but anybody who comes to Austin is going to be like, oh, okay, these guys know how to put on a football party on a Saturday. And then, fortunately for Georgia, this one's in October, so you won't have to deal with that Austin heat that might have otherwise kind of slowed you guys down a little bit.
All right, so right now, if I put you on the spot, give me a score and give me who you think wins this game.
I would have to go Georgia. If for no other reason, first of all, the respect is there. Georgia's been there, done it. I mean, we could be talking about a three-peat champ looking for four, right? If the things had fallen right. So, in fact, I think it's almost interesting. I don't know how you could ever sleep on Georgia at this point for what they've done the last 3 years, but I think in a weird way, because they weren't playing for another natty last year, that people are sleeping on them just a bit, relatively, of course. But no, I would take Georgia, especially with Texas coming off what used. I mean, it's a fist fight. You know what happens in Dallas every year with Oklahoma, and it's very emotional, and it's just a tough game it's tough to get up no matter who's coming to town. For that reason, I would say Georgia's probably should be favored by a touchdown.
Wow. You know, you talk to a lot of people, and it can go either way. This is a matchup where we could see this in the SEC championship game, you know, down the road again as well. So, you know, it's so funny how you ask different people how they think this game is going to go, whether it's the Georgia side or Texas side, and you'll hear a different answer. It's just, that's how exciting this thing's going to be. Dennis De La Pena from Fox 7 down in Austin. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we're going to be talking about this until the day this game happens, and of course, we'll see you down there as well.
No doubt, Sudu. Great joining you, and yeah, we'll be in touch.
Take care, Dennis. Thanks.